Also on YouTube. It is Thursday, May 20th, 2021, and it's a beautiful day in the Atlanta, Georgia area. This will be my last day here for quite a while as I start to make my trek going west. Be in Hot Springs, Arkansas this weekend, and then on over to Texas, and then out to Las Vegas in California the weekend after that. So it's a beautiful last day, though, to be here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. You can see the blue skies and the pretty white clouds, and this is actually a different location that I've been at for a long time. And I used to go further into the woods here, and now I'm a little bit farther out, so you can see more of the sky. And it's just a beautiful, gorgeous day. Highs in lower 80s, a little bit of humidity today, but not like it's going to be in a couple of months. So anyway, I'm excited, super duper 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 excited about getting ready to travel and living in people's homes and living in Marriott hotels is just become a way of life for me the last, I don't know, 4.5 years, as the Lord's been having me do this around America, and is also in Canada. And it's amazing the impact that we are seeing around the world as more and more people are learning about the truth, that why they struggle and why they don't have peace and joy and the fruit of the Spirit like we're supposed to as Christians. Unfortunately, most churches don't talk about this. They don't understand this. Most pastors haven't been taught this. And so I'm excited. I'm honored to be out here around the world, basically, doing this ministry and seeing the results that we're seeing, and doing private sessions with people, during the week. Did a couple more last night. One was a young man in Australia, and his session went just very, very well. A lot of some traumas and wounds that happened in his life, and to get those healed, and he had a lot more joy, and just you could see the countenance change. And then another man over the phone we did that was from Canada, and again, tremendous joy and laughter, and he went through some extreme stuff. People, I hear their stories every day, every week, and it just breaks my heart. All the traumas and all the pain and all the abuse that people go through from, it's really sad when it's your own father and your own mother, but when you understand that your own father and mother were also hurt, they were also, wounded deeply, sexual violations that happened, abused from their fathers, mothers, stepfathers, stepmothers, well, it explains everything. When you get abused and you get hurt and you get talked down to, you will hear demonic voices. And you can come into the church and you can ask Jesus into your heart, which we all do, but the church unfortunately doesn't focus on the most important thing, and that is inner healing and deliverance. That is seeing all those who hurt us from the Lord's perspective. Only reason why people would hurt us is because they were also hurt. And when Jesus said to those who killed him, "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do," we need to follow suit. And that's what takes away the legal rights from the demons to torment our thoughts. I've always noticed this too, is people that have really been hurt and hurt deeply, they tend to talk frequently, a lot. And when I go through a session, oftentimes, they've been hurt and they've been wounded, so they talk a lot. They go into a lot more detail than what they would normally need to. But when they are healed and they're delivered, then they're much more calm, much more peaceful, much more like Jesus, which is a fruit of the Spirit. Peace. They have peace in their life. So today's topic, why do you do what you do, is I wish I would have listened to. I wish I would have had someone teach me this when I was a kid growing up, because I didn't understand, and again, I had looking back, compared to most people I've heard, I had a really good set of parents, father and mother, that really didn't, abuse me. They obviously weren't perfect, but my gosh, compared to some of the stories I've heard, oh my gosh, it just breaks my heart. Some of the abuse, again, when we get hurt, we get wounded, we get abused, we get talked down to negatively. It's like a word curse, and then the demonic spirits latch on to that. And then it causes us not to have peace, and we struggle, and we struggle, and we struggle. We try to act like a Christian, But it's really hard to when you're getting thousands of negative thoughts every day from demonic spirits telling you to take an offense, telling you that you're right, everyone else is wrong, blah, 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 all the demonic stuff. And when you have family members and mothers and fathers that continue to hurt you and abuse you, not fun. It's not easy to go about your life that way. So anyways, here's my tour. Again, we continue to add to it. 2021 this weekend, so Saturday at 1 o'clock, I'll be in Hot Springs, Arkansas at the Highland Street Revival Church doing a deliverance training. We've got quite a few people that have signed up for that. So if you are planning to come, again, it's first come, first serve on the seating, and you can ask questions. It's pretty open forum. I'll be doing most of the talking, doing the teaching, talking about things that I've learned and how we do this, how you can do this, how you can help people get healed and delivered. It's a wonderful thing. Most people that have gotten healed and delivered, oh, there goes some geese. Most people that have gotten healed and delivered, they want to pass it on. They want to help other people to get healed and delivered. That's what I wanted to do. When I went through it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to as many people as possible. And there's so many, it explains so much. So anyway, this Saturday, 1 to probably, at least 4 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock, we'll be doing deliverance training at the Highland Street Revival Church in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Again, it's free. We'll take a free will offering. I'll bring my books with me. And then on Sunday morning, we have church, and I'll be speaking there. I don't know exactly, again, I need to check out what times, but I think it's 10 o'clock, might be 10:30 that we start. But you can find out my schedule on restoredtofreedom.com, the website, or you can go out to my page on Facebook. Just search for Restored to Freedom, and you'll be able to see the events and the times there too, and the addresses and the locations. All right, so that's this weekend, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Then the next weekend, Merkel, Texas. Merkel is west of Dallas and west of Abilene. Fountain Gate Merkel Church, Saturday again, doing deliverance training on May 29th. And then May 30th, going to be ministering 3 different times. Going to be doing our standard breakthrough event, which is geared towards getting people healed and delivered. And then I'm going to be doing some private sessions in the afternoon, and then I'm going to be doing a prophetic night and giving words from the Lord to every single person that comes. Last time I was there and we did it, we had probably 50-some people, and it took an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. So, and there's so many that it was so cool. It was cool for me because I love it. When the Lord will tie in normally a little bit about the person, again, these people I don't know, and so that confirms to them that the Lord is speaking to them, and then they get some prophetic words of guidance as to where the Lord may or may not, be wanting them to go. And most of the time it's, obviously I want you to go in this direction, but it helps people to avoid going in directions that maybe the Lord would not want you to go into. So anyway, that is May 29th, May 30th. And then the next weekend, June 5th, will be in Las Vegas, Nevada at a home group. Again, the address is listed out there on the website, restoredtofreedom.com. And then June the 6th will be in Anaheim, California, Orange County, Ecclesia Global. And then I will be that whole week in California. June the 12th and 13th, I'll be up in Bernie, California, which is in Northern California, not far from Redding. Mount Shasta is not far from there. And then June, well, that following weekend, I might be coming to Oregon. There's a couple of ladies that are looking to have me come to around the Portland, Oregon area, so hopefully that will get scheduled. And again, you guys can always schedule, if you don't have a church that can host, you can always, I've had some people that have paid for hotels, and then I simply will come there to the hotel and keep it as cheap as possible, just have water only, and then they normally can do it for a couple $100. So all right, next, June 25th through 27th is in Seattle, Washington at the Point Church. Actually, that's in Arlington, which is north of Seattle. That's 5 sessions I'll be doing that weekend. Pastor Mike Zachman, a good friend of mine, we went We went boating last time. We actually went to where you could see Canada, as well as the Olympia Mountains and some other property or islands, I guess it was, in the United States, but they were islands that were not too far from Seattle. And then July the 9th and 10th in Billings, Montana, Everlasting Covenant Congregation. And then this is getting established. I'll be going to Colorado Springs. There's a there that wants me to come. They're deciding on the dates. It'll be around July, I don't know, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. So we'll let you know as soon as that gets scheduled. And then July 24th, Omaha, Nebraska, Empowered Family Church. It'll be the first time I've ever been there. That's Pastor Reimer and his wife, Darlene. And then July 31st, Fort Atkinson, Iowa, In One Accord, a ministry there, Monica. And then August 1st, Pastor Doug Boyce in Decorah, Iowa. And that is at the Christian Life Center, first time I've been there. And then I'm looking to come to either Minneapolis or just south of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Again, getting that set up. And then August 21st, Chicago, at the Chicago Marriott Naperville. Again, we've had some of the largest turnouts of, well, we have the largest turnouts of all the Marriott events that we did last year was in Chicago. It was incredible how many people there showed up. So, and then now this just got added yesterday, September 25th, Greenville, South Carolina, coming back to the south again, and that's at the Faith Family Church on September the 25th, a Saturday night. All right, so all that being said, let's get into the topic. Why do you do what you do? And again, I'll preface all this before I get into the blog, but essentially, you know, I never thought about this, and it makes so much sense, is what makes us become who we are. And it's largely our environment of how we grew up. You know, did we have a father and mother that loved each other unconditionally, not religious, you know, that were godly, that followed the Bible and God's precepts without, you know, beating it over us and being mean and living a double lifestyle, you know, controlling, manipulative? Or did they love us the way that they should? Did they encourage? Did they come to your sporting events? Did they, or did they yell at you? Did they scream at you? Did they berate you? Did they put you down? You know, all the negative stuff that we receive when we're growing up is going to affect us later, because we're going to remember the wounds and the traumas. And there's demonic spirits. You know, again, we know that we hear voices from the enemy, which are demons. You know, we're told that. You know, that's what Paul talks about in 2 Corinthians, that we need to take those thoughts captive, because if we don't take the thoughts captive, they'll take us captive. So if you hear a lot of thoughts that are from the enemy that cause you to have fear and anxiety and anger and bitterness, well, how do you get that fixed? Now, that's all tied back to forgiveness for those who hurt you. And if you don't forgive them, the Lord can't forgive us. We know that. So it's a requirement that we forgive. We've got to choose to forgive people. But how do you do that when a person's hurt you very, very deeply? And the demons are telling you that how dare they? They were so bad to you, and it causes you to have anger, hatred, and bitterness. So what you have to do is oftentimes ask the Lord to show you those people from His perspective. And when you can see it from His perspective, you can forgive them, truly. Because the only way and the only reason anybody would hurt you is because they have been hurt. They're hearing from demonic spirits, and they're saying things and doing things that cause us to have pain. So there's a lot of moms and dads out there that hurt their own children, and they have a lot of pride because they were hurt. And of course, they won't apologize. They will do the damage to their children. The children then are hearing demonic thoughts. They come into the church, they still hear demonic thoughts. Demons don't just go. You know, they are told to forgive. We know that we're supposed to do that, but it's really hard when you've gone through some of the stuff that I've heard. People have gone through horrible abuse, horrible sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and it messes a person up, mainly for the rest of their life, unless they've been able to do inner healing and deliverance. So that's why people struggle. That's why people in the church struggle, and why they're mean, why they say harsh words and judgmental words and gossip, lie. A lot of times there's jealousy. You see a person that's jealous of a person, and they will lie and make up things, try to smear their reputation. And God's not in that. And God's not happy. He's grieved with the people that do that. He understands that hurting people hurt people, but you will be held accountable. And if you die before you have truly forgiven those who have hurt you, repented for your own sins, and humbled yourself, then in most cases, you're not on your way to heaven. That's a shock, I know, to a lot of people thinking, well, gee, I asked Jesus into my heart. I'm good to go. But you read the scriptures, and I'm going to read some scriptures today, Galatians 5:16-26. It talks about that if you operate in a lot of these fruits of the flesh, that you will not inherit the kingdom of God. Couldn't be more clear. And it's true. The Lord looks at the heart, He looks at the mind, and He looks at our fruit. So we can act like we're all sweet and nice in front of the church and fool people, but then behind closed doors, how do you speak and how do you treat your spouse and your children? And the Lord sees it. And Matthew 7:15-23 talks about looking at the fruit. And that, people are like, oh, Lord, Lord, look at all I've done. I've cast out demons in your name. I've prophesied in your name, done many wonders in your name. And the Lord says, depart from me. You didn't do the will of my Father. And that you are operating in a lot of sin. So there's a lot of hyper grace messages out there, sloppy grace, that is not good. It causes people to say, well, you know what? God knows that I can't stay pure sexually, so therefore I'm going to act out and do whatever I want and feed my flesh. And that's not good. That's not what God wants. That's not a real Christian. A true Christian is going to have some fruit, some good fruit to show for their efforts. And so, why do you do what you do? Let me go ahead and start reading the blog. Okay, have you ever thought about why you do what you do? Why do so many people who attend church treat their spouse and children and others who don't do what they want badly? Why do people sin sexually? Why do some people drink a lot of alcohol or smoke or overeat? Why do people trigger into angry and violent people? Why are some people calm, loving, and honest, while others rage, hate, and lie? Why are some people fearful and anxious, while others are always at peace? We behave the way that we do because of what happened to us when we grew up. And so I'm going to stop right there. The Holy Spirit says there's a lot of people that will say this. You know what? Just get over it. That was in the past. Oh my gosh. That was when you were 5 years old or 7 years old. Just get over it. That doesn't affect you now. That was way long ago. How many times have you heard that? I remember hearing people talk about that, even in the church. They'd be preaching and saying, you know what? That happened when you're 5. Just forgive them. Yeah, just forgive them. Like, well, it's easier said than done. I don't know how many times I've done sessions with people, like, you have no idea what I went through. And they're so angry, and they're so bitter, and they're prideful. Why? Because of something that was a traumatic event that happened to them when they were young. The enemy wants to hurt us when we're young. We can't protect ourselves. There's so much sexual stuff that's done to kids. Stamping should have gone back by the Lord, and that's what we do at the ministry. If we take people back to the first time, we have Jesus come to speak to them, give them a word. Most times what will happen is those people will be told by the Lord that you were innocent. You were a little child, that you were a little kid when that happened. And so therefore you were a victim, absolutely. But what will happen is oftentimes is those who were victimized start being controlled by their demonic thoughts, and then they start to act out and victimize other people. And that's how it works. So, absolutely, everything, reason why we behave the way we do now is because of what would happen in the past. If we've not truly forgiven people from our hearts, given them to the Lord, humbled ourselves from the pride, We will behave in bad ways, and we will hurt our current relationships. And we will hear a lot of demonic stuff in our heads. And we will not be able to have the fruit of the Spirit. We will not have the peace and the joy. You know, I have lots of peace and joy every day. You know, people that know me, that are around me a lot, they see that. You know, it's like, I don't get down, I don't get negative, I don't say, woe is me, oh my gosh. You know, even when I go through some stuff where it's not fun to go through it, I always know that there's going to be a good thing that God's doing. You know, I'm learning some things from negative experiences. You know, obviously, if it's something that I have done to bring upon myself, that's one thing. But if I am aligned with the Lord, doing what the Lord wants me to do, then I cannot control what other people who have demonic spirits might say and do. What was that? Oh my gosh. Is there an alligator behind me? Is there a Leviathan spirit? Yeah, it's interesting. I heard another, I don't know, amphibian that jumped out of the water right before I started this live. So we will see. I know that they have like alligators in Texas, like in Houston. I went and did a live there from a swamp, and they had said, beware of the alligators and don't feed them. So I'm about, I don't know, 6 feet away from the lake here. So all right, let me go on. All right, we behave the way we do because of what happened to us when we grew up. If we were born prematurely, we will usually be afraid to be alone later in life. Why is that? Why would that happen? Well, think about it. If you're born prematurely, you're not being connected to your mom that should be loving you and holding you. So oftentimes you'll have these feelings, and psychologists would call them separation anxiety disorder, but you essentially would be hearing a lot and feeling a lot of, oh my gosh, I need to be connected. And sometimes you never feel connected to your mother because of that. And so oftentimes you want to be connected to somebody. Now, of course, if somebody abuses you a lot over and over and over again, you may want to separate and be not close to anyone because you don't trust anyone as well. So understand that. But I see a lot of times I'm doing sessions for people and they're born prematurely, and oftentimes they do have this innate desire in themselves to be connected to people, to be around them, you know, to have relationships. All right, if our mom had a scary birth process, or she was yelled at a lot by her husband or the father of the child, then the child will usually have fear and anxiety, and that makes sense as well. You know, again, if you had a C-section, or the doctor told the mom that, oh my gosh, we might lose the baby, we might lose you, then fear comes into the mom that will then go through and travel through the umbilical cord into the child. And I've seen that many, 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 many times where a child grows up and they're in fear. Like, oh, I've always been in fear, always had anxiety, always struggled. Well, that's demonic, hearing the voices of the enemy. And again, understand this. A lot of times people say, well, a Christian can't have demons. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean by can't have, but if you're saying that they can't be hearing demonic spirits or be oppressed by the voices, then that's clearly unscriptural. Paul says we need to take the thoughts captive, because a lot of the thoughts we're having are from demonic spirits. It's true. A lot of thoughts we think are coming from us because the enemy gives us the thought, and then we end up rethinking it over and over again. But the enemy will also remind us of things. And then if we just assume that's our thought and not the demonic spirits, then we're off. But that's how demonic spirits affect most people, is through their thoughts. It doesn't mean you're possessed, but it does mean that you are getting tormented. You're getting distracted by the negative thoughts from the demonic spirits. All right, other ways. If we were shown porn or touched sexually when we were a child, we will struggle normally with sexual purity later in our life. Oftentimes we'll be drawn into things that are not pure sexually. We will want to look seductive. We will want to look sexy. We will want to have, seek out pornography. And it's challenging, it's challenging. So, let me go on. There's a lot of bugs around here today. All right, if we felt rejected by a parent when we grew up, then we will feel rejected easily by other people today, like by our friends, by our spouse, if they say something or do something that seems similar to when we were rejected by our parent. So that's why a lot of people, they take an offense very quickly, very easily, and if we are that way, a lot of times people that struggle with the spirit of Jezebel, they do that. They take an offense at everything. So you walk around on eggshells with them. And they will oftentimes say words and speak things to you that really hurt you deeply. And they expect you to basically shut your mouth and listen to them treat you badly and berate you. But if you ever say something to confront them back with what they're saying and saying, listen, you shouldn't be talking about this, or that was not proper, or you need to apologize, then, oh my goodness, they'll take an offense at the drop of a hat, very quickly, very easily. Okay, if we demand our own way in most things and control and manipulate our spouse or children in a hurtful way, then we would have often been hurt growing up and did not trust anyone because we were never protected, and we hear voices telling us that we cannot trust anyone and we need to make most all of the decisions. The enemy's going to tell us that all your decisions are right, everyone else's is wrong, and then you will believe that. And then what happens is oftentimes people that have been hurt a lot are going to make a lot of bad decisions. And then they may speak words out to hurt, so, all right. If you dated someone in high school who cheated on you and they dumped you, and what will that do to you later? Let's say you get married to somebody later. Then guess what? What will happen is you will not trust your spouse. You will get overly jealous if they have any normal, healthy conversation with someone from the opposite sex. And it will drive you to the point that you will just go berserko on your current spouse. Could be hours and hours where you think that you're right and justified and you're completely wrong. I know what that's like, and others have known what that's like, and it's not fun. It's not good to have a person be completely, extremely jealous when they don't need to be, because what does that do? Ruins your relationship. You don't have a relationship, So there's a lot of people that are very, very jealous, and it ruins the relationship. All right, next. Yeah, what will happen too, I'll describe this, is that they will trigger and feel that that you are cheating on them when you're not. They will trigger and they'll go off on you for hours and hours. That's how you know when a person's got an unhealed soul wound, is the demonic spirit will cause them to trigger and get all angry, take an offense, get angry, want to go on and on and on, pull you into strife, arguments, and so forth. Isn't that interesting? The blue sky behind me here almost looks like, I don't know, looks like a dumbbell or a hand weight to grab right there and to curl. I use hand weights 3 times a week when I work out, so or maybe it's a dog, the dog right there with the mouth over here and their back and their tail right there. It's kind of cool. I am planning to go out to like Sedona and Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon in a couple of weeks, and I did a teaching there from Sedona, and they had these clouds that came over the mountains behind me, and they had a clearly a hand that was grabbing on to like a hammer, and then it had a snake with a tongue out of it, and the Lord told me that He was basically looking to take the demonic spirits down and to hammer them down by exposing the truth. That's why we do what we do. That's why we're seeing the results that we're seeing that are tremendous around the world. I love doing these private personal sessions, and we're seeing such great results. And that's why we do. Why would you not? I mean, if you didn't see the results and the fruit, I wouldn't be doing this. I would be back in corporate America, where I made a ton of more money than I don't make anything now. So, but it is what it is, and I have more desires and wanting to help people get set free, healed, and delivered. So, all right. The truth is that most everyone has been hurt growing up through a parent that talked negatively or harshly, or was emotionally, physically, or sexually abusive, or we were hurt by a step parent or relative or anyone else. Anyone. Or we were, hurt by a step parent, relative, anyone else. When we get hurt or wounded, then we will not trust anyone and trigger on people who do things in our current relationships that remind us of our past wounds. Pride will always develop within us, telling us that we cannot trust anyone to make any decisions that will be good for us. So we better make all the decisions. So again, when people get hurt and they get wounded, guess what? Pride comes in. That's Job 41. Other verses talk about pride. God hates pride. Proverbs 6:16-19. He hates pride, hates it. There's 6 things that God hates, 7 that are abomination. And the first thing is a proud look. Pride. So and it says in Job 41:34 that Leviathan is king over all the children of pride. Again, people that struggle with the Jezebel spirit, it talks about it in Revelations 2:18-23. We're not supposed to tolerate Jezebel. And that there's a whole bunch. In fact, I saw Pastor Kent Christmas. He had a video a couple days ago where he talked about Jezebel. And Jezebel was going to be really dealt with, that the spirit of Elijah has been released. And if you read Malachi 4, 5, and 6, it talks about where he's sending Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children of the fathers. And that's what we see when people get healed and delivered, is they change. Their personalities change. They're not mean anymore. They have the fruit of the Spirit. So Jezebel, as we talk about this and get people to understand and see it in the people that are in the church, there's so many people that struggle with these demonic spirits that are in the church that need inner healing and deliverance. And that's why it says in Revelation 2:18-23, saying about the church of Thyatira, we're not supposed to tolerate it. And it talks about, that's one of the representations of the churches of today. That's why Revelation's at the end of the Bible. Because there's a lot of people that struggle with the spirit of Jezebel. There's a lot of people that are lukewarm Christians, the Laodicea church. So anyway, we're not supposed to tolerate Jezebel. And Jezebel loves to call herself a prophet or prophetess. So there's a lot of pride involved in that. And pride always comes in with that spirit of Jezebel. And you get that because you're hurt and you're wounded. And that's why so many people that have not been healed and delivered struggle in the church. All right. So many people, and most people, are very prideful today. They offend people all day long, but then take an offense over the least little thing. They can't be corrected. They're rebellious. There's a lot of people that, oh my gosh, they want to tell you what to do. And they're wrong, and they're off, and there's no love in them. They're very judgmental, very critical, very evil. So you have to walk on eggshells around them. So arguing and strife in relationships and marriages is very prevalent, and it's because people are not healed from their past soul wounds, nor delivered from the demons tormenting their minds, causing them to strive, take an offense, be demanding, and have no love or kindness, which are fruits of the Spirit. When a husband and wife both pursue healing and deliverance from their past wounds and are able to be honest, choose to forgive those who have hurt them, humbled themselves from their pride, repented for their sins and idols, and commanded the demons to be gone from them, then they will change. They will basically have repented, which means to change, to turn. They will have a different personality. They'll be actually godly, which is a good thing. But they have to command those demons to be gone, and then they will change, have more fruit of the Spirit, and evident in their lives than ever. They will have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. They will be more like Jesus and walk in humility and love. So we can choose to avoid being honest, keep our bitterness for those who hurt us in our past, walk in pride, and then never experience peace, love, or much any other fruit of the Spirit. And then we'll walk in the fruit of the flesh and blame others and strive about stupid things. A servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle in all their ways. 2 Timothy 2, 23, 24, and it goes on 25 and 26. A lot of people love to get into arguments and strive and complain, and that's ridiculous. Jesus never did that. A servant of the Lord must not strive, must not argue. And people that have demonic spirits love to do that. They love to engage in arguments and strife, but they'll never walk in the fullness of Christ. And they're not really a Christian. And if you're striving, fighting, arguing, bickering, again, then this is what goes on to Galatians 5, 16 to 26. So Galatians 5, 16 to 26 talks about specifically people that aren't delivered yet, which is a whole bunch of people. The majority of the church is not delivered. So as I say then, walk in the Spirit, you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, and lewdness. That's being sexually impure. And there's a lot of people that are sexually impure that are in the church. Then it goes on and says idolatry, idols, anything you put before God. So it could be food, it could be drinking, tons of alcohol, it could be smoking, drugs, your job, money. And it could even be the church. Some people are aligned with making themselves appearing that they're godly, and it feeds into their pride. So they end up wanting to have positions within the church to make themselves look good. And typically, oftentimes you'll see people that are not delivered that will go from church to church to church. Why? Because if they're not inner healed and delivered, and they have maybe a good church they're going to, then what will happen is eventually they will try to control, manipulate, and cause strife. And then the pastor will say, listen, you got to go, because they don't really know how to get them healed and delivered. Some of them will say, listen, you need to change. You need to stop doing this behavior. Well, they can't if the demons have legal rights on them. So they will oftentimes go from church to church to church and try to work their way into leadership. And they'll maybe be there for a little while. And they can always kiss up and give prophetic words to the pastors to make them feel like, oh, they're going to be so blessed and God loves you so much, and kind of kisses their butts, basically. But then eventually they'll manifest, and if they don't get their way, they will get mad, they will get angry, they will gossip, they will try to cause division in the church, and then eventually, if they're a good pastor, they'll hear the Lord and they'll say, sayonara, you got to go. So, all right, let me go on. So, idols, sorcery is witchcraft, which a lot of people in the church operate in witchcraft. There's like 1.4 million true witches that attend church, but then there's also other people that if you don't do what they want, they will control you, they will berate you, they will lie about you, they will gossip about you, and that is witchcraft, sorcery. Then hatred. How many Christians do you know that have hatred in their hearts if you don't do what they want? Contentions, which is striving, fighting, arguing. Jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, which is partying, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I told you in times past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. So there you go. They're not on their way to heaven. How many people do you know that practice those things? There's a lot. Hello to Ken on Facebook. Ken from Canada. Yay. So, but when you're healed and you're delivered, then you will start seeing the fruit of the Spirit in your life. Again, we see people all the time that have gone through the ministry for a while. They're like, oh my gosh, I have so much more peace, so much more joy, so much more freedom. They do kind things for people. They're gentle. They're a different person. And I saw that in my own life. I changed. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was so excited to actually walk this out. But the fruit of the Spirit is, so when you're delivered, you're healed, delivered, you no longer do what you did before. Your behavior changes. You're not looking to do things that are ungodly or that produce sinful results. You're going to really truly be a Christian at that point. You're living it out. You have a good heart then at that point. You have a good mind. You want to help people. You're not selfish anymore. So the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering. It means you lay down what you want for someone else. Kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there's no law, and those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, which is prideful, provoking one another and envying one another. Ask the Lord to show you why all those who hurt you did so. Every one of them were hurt when they grew up and never got their soul wounds healed or their demons delivered. And there are so many of them in the church. Just because you say you are a Christian does not mean that you have any fruit of the Spirit to show. Most in America would call themselves a Christian, but few have fruit of the Spirit. The Lord knows our hearts and minds, and it matters if you have any good fruit or not. Grace allows us to stay alive and continue sinning, but eventually, when our time on earth is done, we must have some godly fruit to show for it. There are reasons why we all do what we do. Those who hurt people have all been hurt and have not been healed from those wounds or had their demons' legal rights taken away through forgiveness, forgiving everyone who's hurt them, and humbling themselves before the Lord and repenting for their sins. Jeremiah 17:10 says, I, the Lord, search the heart, I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. So again, the Lord looks upon our heart, looks upon our mind, and we should have fruit of the Spirit. If we don't, then let's get healed and delivered. Let's forgive all those who have hurt us. All right, so this weekend, again, we'll be in Hot Springs, Arkansas at the Highland Street Revival Church. And then next weekend, we'll be in Merkel, Texas at the Fountain Gate Merkel Church. And then June the 5th in Las Vegas, June the 6th in Anaheim, June 12th and 13th, Bernie, California, June 25th through 27th in Seattle, Washington, July 9th and 10th in Billings, Montana, and then Colorado Springs, probably July 17th and 18th, or 18th, and then July 24th, Omaha, Nebraska, July 31st, Fort Atkinson, Iowa, August 1st, Decorah, Iowa, August 21st, Chicago, Naperville, Illinois at the Marriott, and then September 25th, Greenville, South Carolina at the Faith Family Church. So I am not planning to do a live tomorrow because I'll be traveling, and then I will probably not do one on the 24th either because I'll be traveling as well. So just stay tuned, and it's time. It's time to get the world healed and delivered from their soul wounds so that they can truly have good fruit. There's too many people in the church that are not pursuing healing and deliverance, that believe that they're saved when they have bad fruit and they're treating people horribly. You got to have fruit. It matters. And the church pastors out there need to start preaching the whole truth, the whole Bible, and not just cherry picking things that make people feel good, and preaching messages, unfortunately, of hyper grace. You know, again, I learned this by experience, by seeing this play out. You know, when I was, with a person that would throw knives and glasses and chase me and yell and scream at me, but yet would prophesy and pray in tongues and act like she was a Christian. It was an act. It wasn't who she was behind closed doors. And it matters, you know. Again, you can't make a person get healed and delivered, but boy, we sure need a whole ton of people that are at least preaching the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. And there's so many that aren't, and they will be held accountable by the Lord. Unfortunately, there'll be a lot of, in fact, there's some people that have already gone to hell, and I've seen a lot of pastors that are in hell. And a lot of their people, unfortunately, are in hell. And that's not good. So we need to do something about it. So anyway, I will do it. I will continue on, and we will continue to get people healed and delivered. It's so fun to do these sessions for people every week and see results at the end of the session where they feel lighter, they feel happier, more joyful, more peaceful, and then they walk it out and they see that fruit of the Spirit. And you get both husbands and wives to do this, and oh my gosh, it's so great. Alrighty, well, I think that's it. So I will see you guys in Hot Springs, Arkansas this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And then I'll be in Merkel, Texas, Memorial Day weekend. And we'll continue on. All right, we'll see ya. Love ya. Bye-bye.